What's up everybody, how's it going? I hope you're all feeling alive and well. Today is going to be the first ever video that I've done on this channel that is extremely personal to me. And it's also not going to be a very easy one for me to film either because of the varying levels of trauma that I've suffered throughout my life due to this particular aspect of it. But ultimately that's what part of this channel is for, a way of healing and validating things for myself that I never received it on. Now I wanted to make this video today because it's centered around a topic that is still devastatingly misunderstood in today's culture. Not to mention receives an almost unbelievable degree of prejudice and misrepresentation. And in my opinion, with the way American society is heading, it's probably going to get worse. Now, I know I've kind of mentioned this before in passing, but I'm from a small town in northern Alabama named Jasper, which is about roughly 45 minutes west of Birmingham. I come straight out of Deliverance, okay? So I'm sure you can imagine what it's like growing up in a society where everybody is almost by default Protestant Christian. And not just Protestant Christian, but like fundamental and backwards as Just think of Tom Segura when he's doing that farmer impersonation. That. Exactly that. But I'm sure you can also imagine what it's like growing up in that kind of society and also being alternative or differently minded. That is essentially my upbringing in a nutshell. It was always, and still really is, unbearable to go out in public because of how badly you would get bothered or inconvenienced on a daily basis. Now combine that, being alternative, and also being of another religious or free-thinking mindset, this is a recipe for disaster. I grew up in a very cult-like setting where you were literally not allowed to watch, listen to, study, eat, breathe, anything but Jesus on a daily basis. And I personally believe that people that are raised in a fundamentalist household of some kind really get the chance to witness the damage and corruption that religion causes, because I saw it firsthand. And need I mention the hypocrisy? Oh my God. It's like a sickness, you know, like your body is literally telling you that something doesn't feel right, and you feel the urges to essentially be yourself. Or you have questions with answers that just don't seem to make sense in your head, and your mind is fighting against it. Kind of like when your body fights an infection. You feel feverish, you feel disoriented. That's essentially what it's like living in that kind of household, because everything is wrong. And I started to question the existence of God when I was 8 years old. I just knew I couldn't mention it to anybody. The thing that actually did it for me, honestly, is when I discovered that Santa Claus wasn't real. Then I started to correlate the similarities between Santa and God, and I was like, wait a minute. Someone who rewards you if you're on your best behavior? Or punishes you if you're naughty? I can't see Santa. Can't see God either. But ultimately, I just kept my questions to myself to avoid any kind of further conflict than I was already used to. So if we fast forward to when I was in high school, I became very fascinated by other religions and theologies, so I began to study them a lot, and I still enjoy studying them to this day. And this also happens to be where I had my first encounter with the Satanic Bible, was when I was in 9th grade, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Over the years, I actually began to delve into other religions because I wanted to see if I could find something that worked better for me. But what I came to realize was that all religions are essentially the same, at least at the very core and how they function. They all offer an escape of some kind from the world around us in the form of what is basically a placebo effect, or putting a band-aid over a bullet wound. It did not offer any kind of legitimate answers to real problems that I faced in the real world. It was always just, oh, just trust in God, or, you know, all we can do is pray, and it was essentially just trying to pacify me. Then it was when I was in my early 20s that I actually sat down to read the Satanic Bible again, which I hadn't read since 9th grade, as I said before. And when I read it this time, I had sort of like this grand awakening. I was like, oh, this is what I am. Now, I'm going to go on ahead and establish something that typically gets asked anytime my theological preferences come up in conversation. Do I actually worship a literal, anthropomorphic, adversarial character whom the Christians call the devil? No. 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 Well, so then, you don't do any, like, animal sacrificing or nothing? Nope. Conjure demons? Nope. So then you isn't part of a cult? Nah, sir.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
Well then, Lord, what do you do? Nothing, essentially. Being a Satanist is almost as simple as just being yourself. There's no belief in God or the devil. There is no heaven or hell. There is only here and now. Now I'll proceed with another very common question. So then, why you gotta call yourself a Satanist if you don't even believe in God or the devil? Why don't you just call yourself an atheist then? And there's actually a couple of different answers for this question. There's actually a saying within Satanism that goes something along the lines of, not every atheist is a Satanist, but every Satanist is an atheist. And I mean no disrespect, by the way, to anybody that practices theistic Satanism. I'm only referring to most modern day Satanism as we know it. So maybe it wasn't a good idea to use that quote, because there are some Satanists out there that do believe in Satan as a literal being, but when it comes to the Church of Satan or the Satanic Temple, no, we don't believe that. But the first distinct difference between a Satanist and an ordinary atheist is that we do believe in the power of magic. And no, I am not referring to this in a Harry Potter context. We all use magic, or suggestion as I like to call it, in our day-to-day lives. For example, when you see discount or sale signs posted on a store window, or maybe a con man who is successfully able to persuade people into buying a faulty product. Another reason for why we label ourselves as Satanists is due to the very origin of that word itself. The Hebrew term from which the word Satan derives from is pronounced ha-satanas, which literally translates to the adversary. So it is literally the Satan. Not Satan as a proper name, but the Satan. And this word was used biblically to describe certain figures that acted in opposition to the accepted laws or norms of society at the time. But ultimately, the final reason that I personally call myself a Satanist is because I'm proud of the philosophy that I live my life by. So literally no different than any of you. Now, I want to go back and address the topic of human sacrifice for a minute, as I was saying earlier, because this is a notion that still seems to be embedded in people's minds even to this very day. I'll be honest, I thought all that crap stopped back in the early 90s with the Satanic Panic. You had all these different type of evangelical preachers and these people who supposedly survived a satanic attack that witnessed human sacrifice and babies being bred for slaughter and all that crap. And it's been confirmed time and time again that these incidents had nothing to do with Satanism. But for those of you out there who still seem to think that this is going on within Satanism, let me ask you a question. First of all, why is nobody in jail? And don't give me that crap about it's all the elites. No. Why aren't ordinary Satanists in jail for this? Why, ironically, has there not been a single Satanist that has been convicted of doing these said things? And do not come at me with Pazuzu Algarad, because that psychopath does not count. The reason that you've never heard of this happening is because it doesn't exist. Allow me to politely redirect you to page 89 of the Satanic Bible. I rest my case. But also, if we don't believe in any sort of deity that exists, then why would there be a need to perform a sacrifice to begin with? No. You know where you do find human sacrifice? In the Bible. To Yahweh. In Satanism, we worship ourselves, meaning we act as our own gods. Therefore, this notion makes zero sense. If we are ever to progress, the first step is understanding each other, not dividing each other. Spreading false information or lies about a group or specific individual holds no benefit, and it only holds us back further as a species. I've lost jobs, friends, partners, and even family due to this aspect of my life, not to mention faced harassment, threats, being sabotaged in the work field. And with the direction that society is headed right now, it very much concerns me that we might be working backwards all the way back to the witch trials at this point. And yes, I am referring to innocent lives being taken in the name of God. So my message today is stand up, voice yourself, and show everyone that you will not be silenced and that you will not be treated as less human. And for all of you out there that are hell-bent on trolling this video, let me save you a little bit of time and embarrassment. No, I don't care that you think I need Jesus. No, I don't care that you think I'm going to hell. And I've heard the whole devil not letting the world know he exists quote more times than I can even begin to count. Thank you all so much for taking the time to check out today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to show your support by smashing that like button and subscribing to my channel to stay updated on future content. Stay strong during these difficult months ahead, but above all, stay true to yourself. It always takes a little bit of time, but in the end, justice will prevail. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay spooky. Peace!